Welcome to another edition of How to Be Happier for Entrepreneurs. Today is, I've got to say, probably the most exciting day of the 50 episodes that I've done. I have someone here on that's going to describe and talk about his book, and man, he's a legend in this space. So, Mark Dana Mincolla is with us. He is a PhD in nutritional therapist and a quantum energy healer who has transformed the lives of more than 60,000 patients over the last 35 years. Through his innovative genius, he's integrated ancient Chinese energy healing techniques with cutting-edge nutritional science in what he calls electromagnetic muscle testing, which is a one-of-a-kind approach that zeroes in on each individual's unique nutritional needs. Dr. Mark has authored 7 books to date: The Wu Wei, The Tao of Qi, Maximum Healing, Customized Healing, Whole Health, The Whole Health Diet, and his latest book, what we're going to be talking about today, which I've already read twice, is called The Way of Miracles. It is a phenomenal, phenomenal book. Mark, welcome to the podcast.
Brad, thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Man, I'm telling you, like, I've never been so excited for a podcast. So thank you for taking the time to do this. We're going to jump right in. Can you provide an overview of the key principles and concepts discussed in The Way of Miracles and how they can benefit someone struggling with illness or anxiety or depression?
Sure. First things first. I like to define miracles. A miracle is a highly improbable event, not an impossible event, a highly improbable event, not explained by the laws of science. Therefore, it's considered to be a work of divine agency. So when you talk about miracles, you're entering into a different realm. This is a realm that it's not your everyday run-of-the-mill realm. You're working into the areas of divine agency, the areas of higher frequency. You and I produce energy that's very unique, and we don't often tap into it. We're not always aware of it, but we have some pretty special energy we can tap into if we're ready. And I think miracles require that effort on our behalf. We got to be ready to open up a different door. We got to be ready to channel a different kind of energy. And we're going to be ready to make our lives maximize their output, their potential. It's a very different world. It's not the run-of-the-mill average life. It's very different.
Love it. Love it. So can you tell us, like, what are the things that are discussed in the book? If someone's listening to this and they're going through an illness that most doctors have said can't be treated, or they're struggling with anxiety or depression, give us like the crux of the book on how you've been able to help so many people through your approach.
Well, for starters, years ago, I was dealing with a lot of very sick people, obviously, and I just never anticipated that I'd be doing what I ended up doing. Never dreamt of it. But I had so many people who were so sick, so desperate, so terminally ill, so at the end of the road, so destitute. I just felt tremendous compassion, and I thought somebody's got to help these people, and they're not getting the kind of help they deserve from the world as it presently is stated. So the present medical work, that kind of stuff, they're not getting the care and the attention. They need to be cared for. They need to be educated. They need to be inspired. They need to be transformed. I think there's 3 words: doctoring, healing, and transformation. I don't want to be doctored. I don't even want to be healed. I want to be transformed. Transformation takes care of the whole process. Transformation doctors you, it heals you, and it completely changes your whole personhood, your energy, your field becomes limitless possibility through transformation. It's all about limitless possibility. So the Way of Miracles is all about inspiring people, teaching people how to become bigger, more powerful, how to become more conscious, more tuned in, more super conscious, as I like to say, or more transformationally aware. It changes us. We can hit our great potentials. We talk about it a lot. We think about it a lot, but we don't often do it. I say it's a matter of getting the job done. Open the door, walk through, and take your steps. Get busy, and it's got to be action time. It's action. It's all about action.
Love it. So I've read probably 60 books since my transformation started 3 years ago. And I tell people now, yours is my favorite book. I got so much out of it and continue. I keep reading it. On page 71 of your book, Dr. Mincolla, you say that the self cannot be whole without love. Why? And what happens when self-love is absent?
I contend that self-love is the only lack of self-love. Lack of self-love is the only lack of self-love. So self-love is our identity. We ground ourselves in our identity. So I think the key is this. There's two of us. There's two of us. There's a soul and there's an ego. And you can't love an ego. Ego is not lovable. Ego is just not lovable. Souls are infinitely lovable. I say you need to contend with your energy. You need to contend with your identity crisis. You attend to your identity crisis before you do anything. You identify with yourself as a soul. There's an exercise in the book. I have people go to the nearest mirror. Look in that mirror for 10 minutes, eyeball to eyeball. You're looking in your own eyes, looking in the center of your own eyes for 10 minutes, nonstop, just not disturbed. Just stay there, look at it, look in your eyes. Don't change your position. Don't open the door and go out in another room. Don't answer the phone. Here's the phone. Don't do any of that distracting stuff. Look in your eyeballs. Look eyeball to eyeball. 10 minutes. That's what I refer to as tapping into the essence of your presence. The essence of your presence is your soul. The essence of your presence is your soul. That's the real you. That's the powerful you. That's the universe power. That's an amazing you. That is truly a beautiful image of your being. So the essence of your presence is your soul, and that's the key. Tap into that process, tap into that you, bring that you to your life, to your day-to-day life. Challenge yourself to bring that to your present movements and your present decisions, and your present life experiences. And you'll learn the way of miracles.
So I love that. So Mark, you speak about in the book how self-contempt ultimately creates disease and how it helped us survive throughout evolution. Can you speak a little bit to this?
About disease?
About how self-contempt, what self-contempt does and how it causes disease and how it helped us survive, thousands of years ago.
Okay. Self-contempt. Self-contempt is the idea that we don't love ourselves. First of all, before we talk about loving ourselves, let's talk about knowing ourselves. And self-contempt is the result of knowing ourselves. Self-contempt it's easy to be self-contemptuous of our ego. Like I said earlier, ego is very, very problematic, very troublesome. Ego is nothing but trouble, and that to be in that ego zone and to think that that's who we really are produces a tendency towards self-contempt, because there's nothing but mistakes and errors. Ego's mistakes and errors after mistakes and errors, on and on and on. And we get tired of failing. We get tired of being incomplete. We get tired of being rejected. So what we do with all that is we turn that into a form of self-blame. I'm blaming myself because I'm not lovable. I'm blaming myself because I'm not handsome enough. I'm blaming myself because I'm not funny enough. I'm blaming myself because I'm not smart enough. I'm blaming myself because I flunked an exam, because I failed at a game, because I lost money. Those are all different ways that we associate ourselves with events, material events. So to do that is to not know yourself. It's easy to not love your ego, like I said. It's easy. Self-contempt of the ego is simple. I challenge you to be self-contemptuous, to try to be self-contemptuous of your soul. You can't do it. You can't do it.
Okay, that's great. What is the importance of remaining present, and how does one best remain present?
There's a term that I like to use. I like to use the term the recurring presence. The recurring presence. Recurring presence. I think we can live in the zone of now by keeping the present alive and not attaching boundaries, not attaching geometrics to it. So no geometrics. There's no borderline there. You didn't start in the morning and finish in the afternoon. It didn't do that. You're moving the concept of blending. You're blending past, present, and future. They're blending past, present, and future. You're not having boundaries. You're not blocking them. You're conducting them as if they're one flow. It's all about, I'm writing a new book number 8 right now. It's called Absolute Flow. And it's about the idea of that energy is internal, not external. External is not to be trusted. External is distraction. It's ego. It's not. It doesn't possess the properties of internal. Internal is it flows. It flows. Flow is a perfect consistency. Flow has a perfect vibration to it. And I think the key is you want to make sure that when you think about self, you're talking about the opposite of flow, which is the idea of interference, disruption, inconsistency, resistance is the bigger word. Resistance. So you're either in a state of resistance or a state of flow. That's it. That's your option. You're a state of resistance or state of flow. If you're in a state of resistance, you're breeding self-contempt. You're in a state of flow, you shut down self-contempt.
What is the best way someone can remain present?
Go to the mirror, like I said in the book. Go to the mirror. Look at 10 minutes in the mirror, eyeball to eyeball. 10 minutes. That awakens you to the essence of your presence, the soul. That just awakens the awareness of who you really are, and you can sustain that. That becomes sustainable. But you got to practice it.
Can you explain the difference between the unconscious and the subconscious mind?
I didn't hear all that.
Can you explain the difference between the unconscious and the subconscious mind?
Yes. The unconscious mind is representative of the part of our lives that we can't remember. It's your past that you can't remember. Your unconscious is stored energy that's repressed. It's attached to your personal awareness, and it can't be remembered. It's forgotten. So you got your conscious mind is your day-to-day personal awareness. That's conscious mind, day-to-day personal awareness. Subconscious mind is your energy that you can remember. It's your past energy that you can recall. You can recollect it. You can tap into it. You can remember it. Unconscious mind is your stored past memory that you can't tap into. Superconscious mind is the conscious mind with a miracle-making universal awareness attached to it. So superconscious is your miracle mind.
So the unconscious mind that doesn't remember things, is that because of the pain that it likely experienced or just how it works?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. For starters, frequency. Everything that happens has a frequency. Like there's like if you talk about beta 12 to 38 cycles per second, that's a reactive brainwave state. That's a stress state. That's like driving in the car. So there's people who live in that state predominantly. If you're living in a beta state predominantly, you're not going to have any access to superconscious mentality. You're working the unconscious mind. So unconscious mind is the end product of beta brainwaves. So if you meditate, you produce delta, theta, alpha. Delta brainwaves are 0.5 to 3 hertz. Delta is a beautiful state, great state. It's a great state to be able to produce rated energy and to really increase your superconscious potential. That's delta.
So you spoke a lot, and over the 60,000 patients that you've helped, I know you dealt with a lot of autoimmune issues, a lot of autoimmune disease. My question to you, and I'm fascinated with autoimmune and how stress triggers it. What I'm curious about is does stress trigger inflation, or excuse me, inflammation, and then does the inflammation cause the autoimmune disease? Does that
The
make
autoimmune
sense?
disease is caused by the adrenal glands. In other words, when we encounter stress, we produce a lot of adrenaline. 45 hormones we produce that we're under stress that we don't produce normally. 45. Aldosterone, cortisol, epinephrine, all that stuff. So you're producing these 45 powerful hormones that are from the adrenal glands. They're part of the adrenaline process. And when you produce a lot of these hormones, you're using up your ability to counterbalance your own body. In other words, for you to produce your natural anti-inflammatories, we produce steroids. You hear the word steroids. Most people think bad thoughts about it. Steroids are something that the doctor puts you on that's not good for you. You produce your own steroids. You produce your own steroids, Brad. You produce them, I produce them. We have our own steroids we produce. Whenever we're inflamed, we anti-inflame ourselves with steroids, natural steroids like cortisol. So the question is, are our adrenal glands in good shape? Because in order for us to be able to neutralize and balance out our stress and our inflammation, autoimmune response, we have to have healthy adrenal glands. Who has healthy adrenal glands in this world? Not many people. We're in a culture that's very stressful. And we burn out our adrenals. So most of our adrenals are shot. So our ability to anti-inflame ourselves isn't very good. And our ability to counterbalance autoimmune, therefore, is not good either. 72% of all disease is inflammatory. 72% of all disease is inflammatory.
Wow.
And then you got food. There's three different pathways. The foods fit into the pathways. The first pathway is neutral. The second pathway is inflammatory. The foods in each of these groups influence our behavior, or influence our chemistry. So the inflammatory group, dairy products, red meat, egg yolks, those are inflammatory. Those produce arachidonic acid. Arachidonic acid produces COX-2 hormones, and that's an inflammatory pathway. Vegetables and fish are very anti-inflammatory.
I was shocked in the book when you said that peanuts were inflammatory, so I took those out of my diet. So, Mark, does the stress in the food cause the
They
inflammation?
contain arachidonic acid. Arachidonic acid is a very inflammatory.
Sorry, we've got a delay. So the food and the stress cause the actual inflammation, and then that inflammation actually creates the autoimmune. Is that accurate, or?
That is accurate, perfectly. Yes, 100%.
Okay. Can you tell our listeners what actually is the I am, and how might one have confidence that the I am is an eternal state?
I think your confidence comes from the knowledge of the wisdom of your soul. Again, I think that you can attain answers from your mind. You can be inspired to attain answers from your heart. You get answers from other people, from life experience. A lot of different places answers come from. I don't think there's any more reliable, more significant, or more profound a place to get our answers from than our soul. So our soul knows everything, and I think it's a question of getting accustomed to dialoguing with it and trusting it. We need to work with it more, but there's not enough of that done in our culture. Your soul knows the answer to everything. Everything.
What inspired you to write this book, The Way of Miracles?
Um, 40 years working with terminally ill patients, seeing children with cancer, seeing so many sensitive, beautiful people suffer. And I just wanted to make a contribution. I wanted to do something that could inspire people, help transform them, and educate them to being healthier, to being leading better, more interesting, more creative lives.
And now I understand you have a training program that teaches people to do what you've done for 40 years. Is that true?
Say that again.
Do you now have a training program that teaches people to do exactly what you've done for the last 40 years?
I've been teaching. I've been teaching classes for the past 2 years. So I teach classes like every 3 months. New semesters, new class that we start. So we're starting next class in March. But yes, the answer is yes. I do teach.
So if someone took that class, they would be able to, obviously not going to have the experience you do, but they're going to have the tools necessary to help people like you've helped people all these years.
I think he was asking you how long it's taken you to do that from experience.
It took me 40 years. I mean, to really get confident, really good, I think 15. I think 15 got me on track, and then the rest after that is just reinforcement, getting me stronger and stronger. You learn a lot when you work hard at something and you put your consciousness focus on it.
What would you say of the 60,000 clients you've worked with? Is there one or two clients that stand out that you could share with us their story of how you helped them transform their lives?
Well, I mean, I could go as recently as last week. I had three cancer patients. Three patients were terminally ill, stage 4 cancer. They three survived. They all survived. They beat cancer. Their cancer is no longer present. So those, and the movie's a great. It's a victory movie. Our movie is The Way of Miracles. If anybody hasn't seen it yet, it's all over the world. It's in 150 countries, and it's an amazing movie. And it basically is a celebration of life, a celebration of miracles, a celebration of limitless possibilities, a celebration of magnificence, a celebration of the beauty of real life. It's spectacular. I think that the movie and the book are really important influences over the process of making a difference in the world. I mean, I want to leave the planet different than when I arrived. I just feel like we need to really strive to make a difference and to make a positive difference, to make a precious, valuable difference.
Well, Dr. Mincolla, you've certainly made a difference in this world. You've made a difference in my life, and I've already started taking some of your teachings and teaching my clients. So, yeah, you've done an amazing job on this earth, and we really appreciate you. Your movie, if you haven't watched his documentary called The Way of Miracles, it is absolutely phenomenal. So I would go watch that tonight, tomorrow, the next day, read his book, The Way of Miracles. It's really incredible. Mark, when you spoke about the 3 ladies that had terminal cancer, can you give us an idea, just pick one of them and just give us an idea of what did you do to help them rid their body of cancer?
First of all, let me back up. The Gaia, Gaia. It's streaming on Gaia, Gaia. Streaming on Gaia. It's also on Amazon, but streaming on Gaia is the easiest way to get in touch with the movie. Yeah, one of the women, the most recent one that I saw, I just saw it Friday. She had a very positive mentality. She was super confident. She was determined. But I would say with miracles, there's 4 options of miracles: reject, accept, expect, and create. I'll say that again. The 4 possibilities of miracles: reject, accept, expect, and create. So she was a creator. She expected her miracles, and she was determined. She had the ability to create her miracles. So I think that all I did is facilitate, hold her hand, support her, guide her, reinforce your process. But I think my answer to your question there, I believe we need to step up. We need to figure out where somebody's on that ladder. Are they rejecting the possibility of miracles? Are they impossible to the average person? Do they accept the possibility? Do they expect the possibility? Or are they willing to create it? I think we need to walk up the ladder with them and hold their hand and figure out where they belong. You can't get past reject. If you're rejecting miracles, forget about it. You have to accept. Better yet, you expect and create.
Powerful, powerful stuff. My last question is, in the book, you discussed how as infants, we are reactive and how this shapes us as an adult. Can you speak to that? Can you discuss how as infants, when we're infants,
that was very choppy.
Okay, I'll ask it again. Can you discuss how as infants we are reactive and how this shapes us as adults? So the question was, Dr. Mincolla, as infants in your book, you say that we are very reactive as infants.
Try that one more time.
Yep. As in your book, you mentioned that infants are very reactive. I just wanted you to tell us, how does that shape us as adults?
I think the most important thing to bring out with that thought process is there's two major options in terms of reaction to anything. We could have internal, proactive, that's conscious, so conscious internal, I'll say super conscious internal proactive, and unconscious external reaction. So think about that. The idea is that we can either tap in with superconscious internal proactivity, superconscious internal proactivity, or we could think in terms of unconscious external. All day long, every day of your life fits one of those two categories. You're not even be aware of it, because again, you might be unconscious. But again, you're either internal or external. You're either positive or negative. You need to be mindful. You need to be conscious of the fact that you have a choice to make. You can be consciously choosing to be internally proactive and positive, not externally reactive. External reaction is dangerous. It's emotional. Internal proactive. Again, let your soul come through.
Amazing stuff. Amazing work you've done. And I so appreciate you coming on the show and talking with us today. If you want to reach out to Mark, he can be reached at markmincolla@gmail.com. Mark, if you can stick around for a few minutes afterwards. And I just wanted to say thank you very much for being on the show.
Sure.
That concludes another episode of How to Be Happier for Entrepreneurs. Remember, love does heal all.